But one aspect of being growing up Hispanic in Bryan College Station, as I did, for some reason, a lot of my friends were Anglo. Pero I was always, nunca dejé caer la bandera. I never let the flag fall, you know. I wasn't radical or anything like that. It's just that, but there were still these little things going on, you know. But one thing that, growing up as a young Hispanic man, the way I did, I played a lot of baseball and a lot of sports in junior high and high school. Growing up in Bryan College Station in the 70s, you tended to grow up anglicized, engringao, you know. And so went through high school. A lot of my baseball buds were white dudes and blacks as well, African Americans. And so I just had it in my blood, you know. I had it in me that, well, you know, someday. I went to a couple of years after graduating high school. I went to Blaine a couple of years. The campus was downtown Bryan at the time, and so I did my 2 years there. And I told myself, and at this time, Mom and Dad were visiting Mexico. My brother and his wife took Mom and Dad to Mexico for a couple of weeks, and they fueron a conocer el Distrito Federal, el Capital y todo, you know, all aspects of Mexico. And while they were gone, I did my first semester summer session at A&M. Took a literature class, and A&M and I did not get along too well. And so that was the first summer session. So, you know, I said, well, the second summer session, I'm gonna go work in the oil patch, in the oil field. And that's when the 80s oil boom was up and running. So I walked onto a rig and asked them if they were hiring. They said, yeah, give me a minute, we'll probably pick you up. So sure enough, I worked for about 5 or 6 weeks in the oil patch, made a few $1,000s. And so I was done with Blinn. A&M and I weren't getting along too well. And I said, well, you know, boy, if you ever want to represent your people, tu gente, you should move to the valley. You know, you should move to the valley. And I told myself, do it now at 20, because you don't look back at 40 and wish you'd done it. And so I was able to do that.
From the perspective, from being a Mexican American, Hispanic, you were aware of racism, at least in the past. How was it at Bryan High School? Was there any tensions that you saw, even if not with you, but maybe with your friends, with your Mexican friends? Do you recall any?
You know, to be honest with you, I never really experienced that too much.
Okay.
I never really did. But that's not to say that my other friends didn't.
Right.
For some reason, I just didn't experience that type of behavior towards Hispanics that my other. And you know, I tell you that a lot of my friends were Anglo because of my sports over there. Aquí en el barrio, you know, we would get together, nosotros haciendo mexicanos, little Mexican guys, whatever. And even my gang, you used the term gang earlier, my group of guys, there was really not an element of blatant attack, racism, name calling, or anything like that, that we've experienced. And I can't speak for everyone, but we never really experienced that. Or I don't remember any major issues. Maybe more to the girls, or I don't know. But it just didn't happen. But then again, back in 71, 72, desegregation came about. And so when I went into the 6th grade, they brought us all together. African Americans, Hispanics, and whites. And I remember telling my dad, you know, and there was these stories, oh, there's going to be fights, you know, whites against Mexicans, Mexicans against blacks, blacks against white. You know, I didn't know what to think. And I remember telling my dad, maybe you should send me to Catholic school, St. Joseph. Yeah, he didn't go for it. And so ultimately, I truly believe this, that desegregation of the schools was actually a good thing, because my class was really the first class to experience that at that age. And my class, whites, Anglos, and Hispanics, we grew up together. We grew up loving each other. My class, our characteristic is when we see each other, whether you're black, white, or brown, we see each other in town or in reunions or whatever, we hug. We hug. And that, I think, is what desegregation wanted to accomplish, what wanted to achieve. You know, we need to bring these kids together. We can't, separate and equal is not equal. We need to bring them together. Right. And it worked for us. It actually worked for us here in Bryan.
Yeah. I usually hear it was mostly the parents who would be the ones starting the fires. And yeah, I mean, like you said, there was people talking about there's going to be riots in the schools, and then it turns out that no, there wasn't. It was just parents going crazy about the thought of...
There was that occasional skirmish
right.
that you may have heard about maybe in San Antonio or Houston, and maybe even one or two here. But it subsided quite quickly. Because I think people realize, you know, this is a good idea. And what are we going to do? Continue fighting? That's not the way to go.
Right.
It was a turning point. The 70s, I'm a child of the 70s, you know. And so the way I perceive things maybe is going to be different than a lot of people, you know. But my generation seemed to get by pretty well with it.